The Minnesota Twins are coming down the home stretch with just 6 games remaining. Today, I'd like to take a look at the postseason roster and how I think it's going to shake out, at least for the first series. This is Locked On Twins.
You are Locked On Twins, your daily Minnesota Twins podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello again, and welcome back to Locked On Twins. I am your host, Brandon Warren. You can follow me on Twitter at Brandon_WARNE, though I'm not sure I would recommend it. But thanks for making us your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts, as well as on YouTube, and of course, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. As a reminder, please feel free to be active in the comments on YouTube. Other than that, though, we love to hear from you no matter how you want. So if you want to hit me up on Twitter at the aforementioned handle of mine or at Locked On Twins, please feel like you can do that. Also, too, Locked On Postcast, or Locked On Twins Postcast, will be available Tuesday evening after the Twins play the A's. I'll be on with Sam Ekstrom of Locked On Minnesota. We'll talk about basically all kinds of different things, and hopefully a win on Tuesday. Twins face the A's at Target Field on Tuesday. It's going to be a 6:40 p.m. first pitch. Bailey Ober will face Paul Blackburn. We did a full update, preview for the series in Monday's show, so head back up the archives and find that. But you can catch every pitch of the Twins' hometown broadcast with SiriusXM on the SXM app. Apologies there for people watching on YouTube. I had to take the jaw breaker out of my mouth. I'm dealing with a little bit of a sore throat, so we're just trying to kind of run off the clock here. But we are into our first segment, and we couldn't be happier. We are doing news du jour and how it relates to the Twins. So basically, news of the day and the Twins angle or slant. First and foremost, Twins in the latest power rankings from The Athletic are 11th. For a little context, number 10 is Seattle, number 9 is Houston, and behind the Twins is number 12, Arizona, and number 13, Chicago, Miami 14th, Reds 15th, and so on. So Twins surrounded by a bunch of teams either in the playoff hunt or most likely to get in on either side. So also, too, it's kind of bunched up in the sense that the Twins whoever they face, will be pretty well matched up with, again, Astros 9th and Mariners 10th. So we'll see how that pans out. We'll talk about that potential upcoming series. But Stephen Nesbitt wrote the blurb for The Athletic. I believe he is now a national writer for The Athletic after covering the Pirates for a bit. Very, very good writer, too, by the way, so go check it out. But basically, his blurb talks about the Twins setting records for strikeouts as a hitter, but also they lead the majors in pitching strikeouts and are going to reach 1,500 on the season, something only 30 teams have done in the past. So basically, he said, we'll see how the whiffs play up in October. And again, of course, that swing and miss doesn't always suggest that a team's not going to be good, even though fans tend to think it that way. But, we'll see what that looks like in October, again, as we've so eloquently stated. But, yeah, 0-18, time for the Twins to put a notch on that win column. 2 players making the Southern League AA All-Star team for your Twins. Junior Severino, who got a late season call up to St. Paul and for the most part kept swinging it. And then, but with Wichita, which is the AA Southern League affiliate of the Twins, 925 OPS and 24 homers in only 84 games. So 35 homers in 120 games, 51 walks against 173 strikeouts. So a quintessential 3 true outcomes kind of guy. He was actually Rule 5 eligible last off season, but had not played all that much above high A. The numbers were good, but a guy has to stay on the roster all season long. So if they're Rule 5 away from the Twins. So the odds of a player like that staying on a roster, not terribly good. The other all-star is Pearson Ole, a starting pitcher who made 16 appearances, 14 starts for Wichita with a 2.69 ERA, 7.7 strikeouts per nine, and a 0.95 whip. So we'll see. He's had better strikeout numbers at other levels, including Cedar Rapids for his first 8 appearances this year. He struck out more than a batter per inning. So we'll see as he continues to progress if he'll get those strikeouts back. But he does not need to be added to the 40-man roster until after next season. And so we'll see what happens there. But again, time is not of the essence with Ole as it is with Severino. AL West games last night. Justin Verlander downright dominant in a way that we had grown accustomed to seeing, but maybe with a little less velocity. And that was actually kind of, I was watching the Mariners telecast, and I like the Mariners telecast because they do that camera angle where they kind of do like and you can't really call it a 360 because it's not a full circle, but like a 180 down the baselines. Just gives you another look at it. But yeah, they're kind of remarking, Verlander's not throwing as hard as he used to, or at least in this game. But 8 innings, 8 strikeouts. He gave up 3 hits and 1 earned run. That earned run came across late on a sacrifice fly. Brian Abreu came in, finished things off, and obviously at this time right now, the two teams playing for the right to face Minnesota or not, we'll see what happens there. Personally, I think I'd rather face the Mariners. I think I just don't trust the Mariners offense to be all that difficult in October. Their pitching staff will be solid. But Luis Castillo did give up 5 earned, including a pair of home runs in Monday night's game. Again, though, these aren't the Astros of old either. Their starting pitching has been pretty bad here for quite some time in the second half. Now, Verlander kind of puts a kibosh in that because he hasn't been there for all those numbers. And also, Verlander in the playoffs, you can throw out the numbers. So, Rangers, though, also win 5-1. So, both games with NL West / Twins implications were 5-1. Rangers beat the Angels as one might expect. Angels in a complete tailspin go to Carson Fulmer again, who threw a ton of pitches in the series finale against the Twins and then was right back out there the next day. John Gray, solid. I believe he left, though, with a bit of an injury. So we'll see what happens there. But in general, yeah, the Angels are a mess, and so the Rangers have a pretty good shot here to run away with things out west. Fun little thing here, postseason watch, bracket, tiebreakers, and more on MLB.com. Basically, Twins, Astros, how it lines up right now. And when we talk about how the Twins should build their postseason roster, we'll break down the fact that they have Framber Valdez, a lefty, so they're going to probably want to build their bench and their secondary parts of the first series roster, perhaps a little different than most people might expect. But as far as the tiebreakers and all that, for the wild card, the Astros are up on the Mariners, but Seattle has the tiebreaker. So again, we'll be watching that head-to-head series. Is going to matter a lot to Twins fans. So nice thing is it's on the West Coast. You can watch the end of the Twins game and still pick up a large portion of that if you can hold out that long, which not many of us can. Also, Astros, Michael Brantley out for his 6th straight game due to general soreness. Probably won't be a factor in the postseason all that much due to issues he's faced. But again, that's a good veteran professional bat in a lineup that isn't quite as deep as maybe we recall. And so we'll see what happens there. Rangers 6-4 in their last 10. That was 4 straight losses followed by 6 straight wins. Garver with a homer. They went back to back off Angels reliever Jimmy Herget. Garver 3 for 3 with an OPS over 900. absolutely tremendous season that he's had, mixing and matching between behind the plate and DHing. We'll have a full breakdown of the Twins' possible postseason opponents on Wednesday. So our next full episode, which will come out tomorrow if you're listening to this on the day it comes out. A couple more quick items, and then we'll head into a quick break and then talk about postseason hitters on the roster. Luis Robert headed to the IL with a mild MCL sprain in his left knee. Means Tyler Naquin is joining the roster for the White Sox. So Robert's season over. Pretty much the only bright spot on that team this year, just generally speaking, which is a real shame because, they had a lot of things going for them. Even if you didn't like the whole team going into the season, you still probably could not have seen this coming. San Francisco Giants recalled Sean Jelly, a Minnesota native born in Fridley, went to high school in Matamidi and then Kentucky for college. And if you don't know much about him, he is 6'11". So he is tied for the tallest pitcher in MLB history with John Roush, former Twin John Roush. But Jelly has a 6.89 ERA in his brief MLB career so far, all in relief. And then at AAA, a 6 ERA this season. So probably more up to just kind of get some work as the season comes to an end. A-Ray Adrianza gets activated from the 60-day IL by the Braves and designated for assignment. So he'll be on the move here. Or maybe he'll stay in the organization, accept the outright, and then still be an option if they need him in October. That's where DFAs at this time of the year are a little tricky. So we will see. We'll see what happens there. But again, Adrianza, pretty big part of some pretty good Twins teams there. And he's on the move after a left shoulder strain healed up. Finally, Reds DFA Kevin Newman, infielder. And I just saw a name to keep track of if you're a Twins fan. Kevin Newman is basically the infield version of Jordan Luplow. Hits lefties, can play a little bit all over, and he's a former Red. We know how the Twins feel about their Reds. So honestly, I'm not saying it's going to happen for that reason or anything, but just keep an eye out because they're going to want to find their next Donovan Solano. They're going to want to find, their next Kyle Farmer if they don't bring Kyle Farmer back in his final year of arbitration eligibility. So we'll see what happens there, but I think Kevin Newman could be a fit. We'll come back with postseason hitters for the Twins and the roster that I think they'll go with in the wild card round. But first, let's talk about LinkedIn sales. So our friends over at LinkedIn want to know that if you're struggling to close deals and cold outreach is wasting the time of both the buyer and the seller at every stage, which it tends to be, especially when the sellers are using shallow and outdated data, your organization can overcome these challenges with technology that translates comprehensive, high-quality buyer data into real-time insights. Those deeper insights empower sales reps and teams to adopt the habits of top performers, which leads to better outcomes, like more pipeline, higher win rates, and larger deals. We call this deep sales, and we've built the first deep sales platform with the next generation of LinkedIn Sales Navigator. Right now, you can try LinkedIn Sales Navigator and get a 60-day free trial at linkedin.com/lockedon. That is linkedin.com/lockedon for a 60-day free trial. Let LinkedIn Sales Navigator help you sell like a superstar today. Just go to linkedin.com/lockedon to get started. All right, so we are back to take you into the bullpen. Thanks for making us your first listen on Locked On Twins every day. If you're an everydayer, make sure to check back later tonight for a postcast with Sam Ekstrom. And then on Wednesday, we will take a deep dive on the Mariners and Astros and maybe a little bit of the Rangers, although the way they're cooking right now, the Twins don't really have to worry about them until later in the postseason if they, knock on wood, should advance. So, I'm just looking now. I put my pages in reverse order, so you're going to have to stick with me here. But Twins A's open up their series at Target Field. It's Paul Blackburn against Bailey Ober. Full breakdown, like I said, on Monday's show, so go back and check that out. Twins facing possibly as many as 3 pitchers that you have not heard of. So I did a little breakdown with those guys, but you can catch every pitch of the Twins' hometown broadcast with SiriusXM on the SXM app. Just search Twins. Now, as we look at a wild card roster, I have come to the conclusion, and I've cited a couple different places just to make sure that my math and my logic is good. But I'm thinking 15 position players and 11 pitchers. 3-game series. You don't need 4 starters, so 3 starters, perfect. 8 relievers. You could, in theory, I guess, add a 9th and subtract a hitter, but I think hitters are going to be more of the essence based on the substitutions that we've seen Rocco use. I think the fact that they're going to be leaning probably a little more heavily on starters than some teams do, just because the Twins are a little better equipped there. So we'll see. But now I figured out what I had done wrong in my notes. I have both of the catchers and their numbers with each pitcher. So that's why I got confused, because I have pitcher names on my hitter spot. All of this is an on-air production meeting, and you're all part of it. So thanks for joining me. But obviously, Ryan Jeffers, Christian Vasquez are going to be your catchers on the postseason roster. No doubt about that. But I did break down their numbers with each catcher. And so I'm not saying these numbers are necessarily instructive. I just think they can maybe, between the 3 numbers that I've pulled for each pitcher, for each catcher, be a little more instructive on how we can maybe expect the Twins to divvy up playing time, because, the statistics like Ryan Jeffers offensively and Christian Vasquez defensively, if you combine those 2, you probably have the best catcher of all time. But with that said, that technology is still pending. So Ryan Jeffers, and I did this for the 5 starters, the only 5 guys who I would think would start a playoff game in any way, shape, or form: Pablo, Sonny, Joe Ryan, Bailey Ober, and King Kenta. So with Pablo, Ryan Jeffers caught him 14 times. Christian Vasquez caught him 17 times. So slight advantage to Vasquez. But with Jeffers, he had a 604 OPS against and a 289 ERA, compared to a 737 OPS and 417 ERA for Pablo with Christian Vasquez. Again, those numbers are not the be-all, end-all. And we'll see that with Joe Ryan especially. But I'm thinking more along the lines of the patterns of games caught. The guys that are even, maybe the OPS or ERA could be a tiebreaker. And it also, too, might matter, if they're facing Framber Valdez, a lefty, if they like the matchup with Jeffers better. And the fact of the matter is that most of these guys have a pretty close split, with the exception of Kenta, who worked with Vasquez more. But Sonny Gray, 15 starts with Jeffers, 16 with Vasquez, a 584 OPS and 295 ERA with Sonny and Jeffers. Sonny and Vasquez is a 636 OPS and a 265 ERA. So both very good numbers. And so either way you slice it, I don't think there's a wrong decision there. Joe Ryan, 12 games with Jeffers, 16 with Vasquez, but a 591 OPS against and a 269 ERA. Meanwhile, Ryan with Vasquez is an 839 OPS and a 575 ERA. Now, the reason I don't know for sure if that's a fair criticism is because of the lull that Ryan had in the middle of the season with that groin issue, where I really don't think it's fair to put that on either catcher. And again, that's basically why these numbers are inherently going to have some questions about chicken or egg, which matters, which don't. So with that said, I'm only giving the data. Maybe we can be a little bit like instructive, or maybe like we can project who we think would make sense. But nevertheless, the numbers with Joe Ryan and Ryan Jeffers are much better than with Vasquez. Again, not certain how much it matters, but it could be a tiebreaker. Or, if the Twins are more in need of offense, there's going to be a lot of things at play here. With Bailey Ober, Jeffers has caught... Sorry, I'm trying to make sure my dog doesn't bark here. With Bailey Ober, Ryan Jeffers has caught 11 times with a 750 OPS and 358 ERA, and 13 times with Vasquez for a 676 OPS and 373 ERA. So again, we're not always seeing ERA and OPS 100% correlate. And a lot of that, may come down to different types of pitcher or, maybe base runners for ERA versus singles, etc. There's a lot of reasons why it wouldn't necessarily jive up, but again, it's all statistical noise, data, whatever that may or may not be in play here. And then finally, Kenta has pitched only 6 games with Ryan Jeffers and 14 with Vasquez. He has a 626 OPS and 398 ERA with Jeffers and a 766 and 441 with Vasquez. Again, not totally sure how that shakes out in the sense that, excuse me, he, he had the start of the season that was rough, and then the rest of the season he was much, much better. So the catcher's pretty obvious. Position players, I'm going Correa, Polanco, Royce Lewis, Alex Kirilloff, Ed Julien, Kyle Farmer, Donnie Solani, Max Kepler, Michael A. Taylor, Matt Wallner, Willie Castro, and Jordan Luplow, because again, Framber Valdez is an option for the Astros. So for me, I want Luplow in there to at least face him. And then I'm putting Byron Buxton on the roster, and that has been a bit controversial because there are a lot of people who are convinced that Buxton has no place on this playoff roster. Really, it comes down to a couple things. Alternative, which the 3 alternatives that came up in the article that I looked at were Nick Gordon, Andrew Stevenson, and Joey Gallo. I think Joey Gallo is a distant third. I think they'll keep him around for vibes purposes, but he's really going to be a break glass in case of emergency kind of spot. Now, with Buxton, the reason I want him on the roster is because, again, first of all, lightning in a bottle. We know what he's capable of on a swing-by-swing basis. The odds of him playing center, not terribly high. I know he lobbied to play center that last weekend in St. Paul. Saturday gets canceled. Sunday's the last game of the season. He DHs. So, again, if he comes back like we expect him to, and if we're there's a chance he may even be announced as back here as soon as you hear this podcast. We have not seen any roster moves yet, but that could change. If you do not just decided. Twins have reinstated Brock Stewart and DFA'd Dylan Floro. That's an interesting one. So anyway, we'll get to that at the end here as far as what that means, because he wasn't going to be in my postseason bullpen anyway. But again, having Brock Stewart back is certainly a good sign. Okay, so when it comes to Buxton, if he tries to go and can't, the odds of him. So if you put a player on your roster and then you take them off for injury, they have to miss the next series. I'm not as worried about that with Buxton, because if he's still bothered, that amount of time is not going to matter. Basically, if he can't play in the wild card series, why would I expect him to be back for the next series when he's not played on a regular basis for this long already? Does that make sense? So in that case, I like Andrew Stevenson as a contingency there. And I also like Nick Gordon as a contingency against if Correa or Royce Lewis can't go. Now, Correa did tell Dick Bramer that he would have to have his leg amputated for him to not play. So we'll see what happens there. And I think Royce Lewis is going to push hard to play. So we'll see what happens. But the first 3 out are Nick Gordon, Andrew Stevenson, Joey Gallo. Gordon for versatility makes sense, but if he's not ready to come back, then he's not ready to come back. They can't rush him. Stevenson for late game running situations. He's not exactly Terrence Gore speed, but he's fast enough to be a difference maker. If say Christian Vasquez gets on late, have him run and then bring Jeffers in. So the position player stuff is fairly straightforward. And we'll take a quick pause. We're going to talk about our friends at Jase Medical, and then we'll do the pitching side of things pretty quickly. We've obviously well documented how we think we're going to go with starters, but the bullpen, there might be some surprises in that bullpen. We'll be right back. Our friends over at Jase Medical want you to know that modern medical care and treatment are important, but our global supply chains are fragile. And we've seen that over recent years. You can't get what you need. So if you need, if there's things like pandemics, natural disasters, or foreign travel that may cut us off from the treatment we need for various things that come up, Jase Medical is your solution. Our friends there want you to just fill out their online form, and one of Jase Medical's board-certified physicians will review it to determine whether medications for you are safe and appropriate. I did it. You should do it too. Jase will send your prescriptions to one of their partner pharmacies where your order will be filled and mailed directly to your home. You can also send your physician a message for answers related to treatment questions at any time. And I actually have my Jase case near here. So if you want to see it, you can just go on YouTube on the video if you're listening. But it's a cool little pack here, and it's got a couple of different little things, a Z-Pack, just stuff for if you get sick and can't get to where you need to go immediately. It can help you start that healing process. But everyone should be empowered to care for themselves and their loved ones during the unexpected. And that's why Jase Medical offers that Jase case that I just showed you. You can save more than $360 by getting these life-saving antibiotics with Jase Medical, plus an additional $20 off by using my code LOCKEDON at checkout on jasemedical.com. That's Jase, Jase medical.com. All right, we're coming down the home stretch here. Twins and A's going to open up a 3-gamer. It's the last 3 games of the home regular season schedule. Then the Twins will hit the road, go to Colorado to wrap it up. And a week from today, Twins will host somebody. We're still trying to figure that out. In the meantime, though, the Twins will face an AL West team who will not be in the playoffs. It's Bailey Ober against the A's Paul Blackburn. You can catch every pitch of the hometown broadcast, the Twins hometown broadcast with Corey and Danny with SiriusXM on the SXM app. Just search Twins. 11 pitchers. I'm going with 11 pitchers, 3 starters, obviously. So Pablo Lopez, Sonny Gray, Joe Ryan. And that may change. They may want to go 4 deep if they make it to the division series / which is best of 5, or the ALCS best of 7, World Series best of 7. Things will change. This is only a projection for or a prediction or what I would do for the series that's immediately in front of them. But the bullpen, which is where I'm really enthused, is here's how I would go. Joan Duran, Griffin Jax, Emilio Pagan. Hard to believe we're saying Pagan that early, but he's had a really nice year. Caleb Thielbar, Louis Varland, Kenta Maeda, Brock Stewart, and Chris Paddock. 1 through 8, there isn't a single guy there that I don't think I would put into a specific situation. And honestly, there's really only one pitcher that didn't make it that I would have to consider, and that's Cody Funderburk. Jorge Alcala is not going to be ready. I thought about Dallas Keuchel for a minute, get a guy in to get you a grounder in a big spot, but I mean, it doesn't make sense to me. Dylan Floral, we just found out, was DFA'd. Brent Hedrick, Cole Sands, not in that mix for me as far as just caliber of pitcher. Those 8 are the 8 I would go to war with. The fact that it all came together at the right time to get Stewart back, Varland on the right path. We'll see what Maeda is capable of, but it looks like he's probably going to work out of the bullpen the rest of the way in the regular season. Lots of success there, though, in the past. So we'll see what happens. But the pitchers on the postseason roster, again, we're going to go Pablo, Sonny, and Joe Ryan for starters. Joan Duran, Griffin Jax, Emilio Pagan, Caleb Thielbar, Louis Varland, Kenta Maeda, Brock Stewart, and Chris Paddock. So hopefully we'll see something from Chris Paddock and Brock Stewart here down the stretch. It's going to be interesting. Twins facing 2 teams with nothing to play for by the end of the year. Both will have more than 100 losses. And the Rockies might have 100 losses by the time they welcome the Twins to Denver here at the end of the week. But we'll see what happens there. But again, that's what my roster looks like. I would love to hear where you differ, or what maybe a strategy for you would be different-wise in terms of more pitchers, fewer position players, et cetera, et cetera. So with that said, that's it. That's a wrap. Thank you for listening to and watching Locked On Twins. Again, this is it's a fun time of year to be following the Twins. It's fun to be in postseason contention. I really like how the team is shaping up for October. But with that said, we're gonna take a little break here. We will be back later this evening with a Locked On Twins postcast. It'll be Sam Ekstrom and me breaking down what we hope will be a Twins win over the A's. But for now, this is Brandon Warren signing off, saying thank you so much for hanging out. This is Locked On Twins.